It is interesting, isn't it, all of this, that, of course, lots of people will be focusing on weddings in the coming weeks. The rules have been relaxed somewhat. But some good news if you want to go away on holiday today, with the Times, I think, saying that 1 in 200 amber list travellers have the virus, which they're saying is actually really quite low.
Yeah.
And that, again, if you're double vaccinated and these vaccines work, that essentially you should be able to go away.
Yeah. I think that's going to happen. I mean,
well, you'd hope so.
We hope so, don't we? I mean, everything's changing all the time, but that is very, confidence boosting, isn't it?
Yeah, no, definitely,
sure.
definitely. They said only 89 people out of the 23,465 passengers who travelled between UK destinations. This is when essentially we had a green list. Do you remember those days? Had a rate of positivity 0.4%. Also, the Mail suggesting today, as I say, if you've been double jabbed, that you shouldn't have to self-isolate if you come into contact with someone who has had it.
We'll be talking more about that in just a moment,
Yeah, but let us know your thoughts. Tweet us at GB News. Send us an email, gbviews@gbnews.uk. Sharon has got in touch already saying, I think it will happen in the near future. People only have confidence to travel or do other things if they have everyone protected around them.
James says, I don't think a two-tier society he talks about is a very good thing. Also think people's medical status should be private. It's something that really divides. Well, I mean, a lot of people believe that, but is it the way that we're going to be able to live? I mean,
well, I mean, frankly, if
passport sort of system that could come into place, I mean, what do you feel about that?
Well, I think essentially we know the vaccines work. We know that this is our ticket back to kind of a return to pretty much normality, and it does seem, hopefully in 4 weeks' time, that new date of July 19th, the government will stick to, if we get the figures up on vaccination up to. And so my kind of fundamental point is, well, you know what? If that's the compromise, and if you're not willing to get the vaccine, well, maybe you shouldn't have many freedoms. But why should everyone hold us back?
Originally, I was very against it because I thought it is private, like James said there, and very much kind of, why should I be, tracked in that way? And actually, I now feel that it's the only way that we're going to be able to travel, to move around, to get out there, for now anyway. But do give us your views on all of these subjects today, especially about Freedom or Not So Freedom Day at GB News, or GB Views at gbnews.uk as well. We'll read some of those out for you.
OK, here's what else is going on today. Doctors and NHS trusts have said that the government must start planning for, and this is another interesting aspect of this story, for the autumn booster jab rollout, as it will now involve bigger challenges. Doctors say there are many
Young people are heading for a fresh affordability crisis as rural house prices in England and Wales rise twice as fast than in cities. According to data by Hampton's estate agency, on average, prices are rising 14.2% in the countryside. That's compared to 7% in city areas.
That, isn't it? I think for lots of, particularly young people trying to get in the housing market.
It's very difficult.
If you live down in Cornwall or in Cumbria and you've seen this flood of people from London and the South East buying up properties that then you can't afford. You can't afford to live where you grew up.
No, it's very sad. It's getting more and more difficult, isn't it? We're going to be talking about this a bit more later on as well. OK, let's have a look at some of the top political stories this morning, because I'm delighted to say we're joined by the economist and commentator Billy Bamburgh. Good morning to you. How are you, Billy? It is really, really quite annoying in terms of the travel restrictions. And I keep coming back to this fact, we talk about travel, and I understand people's concern about the borders and how it might threaten kind of the freedoms we have here. But it's not just all about going on holiday. It's actually about people seeing family and friends that they may not have seen for the last, frankly, 18 months. And there are just practical realities as well that make things a bit difficult. Exactly. Right, coming up, we'll look at the weekend's sporting action and go back live to Hartlepool, who are celebrating their return to the English Football League. But first, a look at the weather. And he wasn't going to do it before? Well, I mean... And who's the source? We want to know. Well, but also, frankly, I don't think that he's necessarily making all these decisions. No. I think Meghan Markle might have a thing or two to say about that. Right, the Daily Express. The Daily Express lead.
The Conservative Party have been very big on the triple lock about making sure the pensions raised at a certain rate linked to kind of inflation and everything else, and suggestions that, well, you know, at the end of the day, actually, they've had a pretty stable income, haven't they, pensioners, during this pandemic. The national debt has increased quite a lot. It's primarily affected lots of young people. They're the people who are most likely to lose their jobs or have had terrible disruption to their education. And if we're going to have to pay off what we've accumulated, you know, where should that burden fall on? And to a degree, should it fall on pensioners, as I say, who've pretty much had a, you know, a pretty stable time, not in a good time, a stable time.
So that's where they're shaving that from.
TikTok. It's going to help unlock.
When we're in the period of sort of over, you know, 20 to 25-year-olds or whatever it was, 18 to 25-year-olds. Did you? And that worked, didn't it? So actually, if people are on TikTok, it's a great platform, therefore, to push that. As it would be on the dating apps or whatever else.
Precisely, we're doing it on Bumble and Tinder and all that other stuff.
All the other stuff. Right, The Independent leads with a report that school children are going to be regularly weighed in England because of fears the pandemic has exacerbated the child obesity problem. Not sure about that one either, personally.
No.
I need to think about this one. I don't choose that weren't already there. I think, I don't know. The jury's out on that for me, as a mother.
Meanwhile, the Daily Mail leads with a report claiming that Matt Hancock, and we've talked about this as well, will scrap self-isolation for people who've come into contact with coronavirus if you've had 2 jabs. As I say, makes entire sense. We should focus. Can we leave this up? Can we bring up the Daily Mail again? Because also, aside from that story, we've got these great pictures of Prince William on Father's Day with his kids, which is super nice.
Papers this morning. Right, that's the paper review for today. Nominations for the next DUP leader are open until noon tomorrow, with a new leader expected to be elected on Saturday. This comes as Edwin Poots resigned just 21 days into the role. But what's caused the DUP crisis? That's the question our Northern Ireland reporter explains.
A week is a long time in politics. I mean, if we look at the start of this,
restrictions in Wales, the number of guests attending wedding receptions and wakes has also changed, allowing venues in Wales to host as many people as they safely can. Meanwhile, civil weddings will be permitted to take place outdoors for the first time in England and Wales from next month. The ceremony's approved premises, such as hotels, currently need to be in a room or a permanent structure. I have to say, I was unaware of this.
I was unaware as well.
I could have sworn I went to a wedding that
was
outside and outdoors, and I'm like, was that legal? I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway, the change also applies to civil partnerships and will allow outdoor ceremonies from July to next April, and will mean more guests can attend events affected by social distancing rules.
My confusion comes with, can you sing, can you dance, where can you sing, where can you dance? Very confusing, isn't it?
I think lots of this is actually guidance rather than hard and fast rules. So I think people have been flexible, thankfully. OK, let's have a look at some of the business stories affecting the pound in your pocket. And I'm delighted to say on this Monday morning, we've got Jasmine Bursels from magpie.com. Good morning, Jasmine. Let's start with this news from McDonald's. On the surface, really positive news.
I was a dietitian, and in my teenage years, you know, as a teenager, you know, a lot of teenagers, when you're growing up and your body's changing, you weigh yourself a lot, and obviously some people can get obsessed by weighing, you know, and I just fear this is going to possibly sow a seed with some children where they may obsess about it. I know it's for the good, and that's how we're seeing that. But is it actually going to do good? I'm not sure if it is.
But isn't the concern that essentially some families don't? It's not a priority. They don't have maybe the ability or the...
Yeah, for me, it's more about education on food and education on eating well, a good balanced diet. It's not weighing children, getting on the scales
rather
at
than
school.
mocking them out.
No, personally, no.
As I said, I'm sure you've got a view. Get in touch at GB News or email us at GB Views at GB News.
We're still getting used to these things. We've only been here for a week. By the way, it's a week now.
It has been a week, and we've changed. You may have noticed we're on the sofas now.
We're feeling we need to be a little more comfy in the morning.
Indeed. OK, let's move on to politics, because I'm delighted to say that Dean Twyman is the founder of Delta Poll, is here to take us through some of the weekend's biggest political...
They've had a tough time, so...
But I'm sure there's sore heads in Torquay as well, people commiserating.
Yeah,
But as you say, that's sport.
That's the way it is, sadly.
OK, here's what else is going on today. Doctors and NHS trusts say that the government must stop planning for the booster jab rolled out in the autumn. It will involve bigger challenges, they argue. Doctors are already asking many questions.
Being given the wild card.
Oh, we do like Wimbledon.
I'm really excited. It's so nice to see it return, and also I think it's 15,000 fans are going to be entering those doors, the gates. It's such a great place.
We had like Royal Ascot last week. We had Wimbledon kind of starting, in the next week or so
nice
properly.
To see, isn't it?
And it feels that we're at least getting the semblance of summer back, even if the weather isn't playing ball.
Exactly. And there were scenes of elation in the North East yesterday as Hartlepool United returned to the English Football League, which she was previously to Hartlepool, and she said, I just thought there'd be, no one up in the morning. So she got some sound bites, didn't she? Some grabs from people last night. Very excited fans, because it's huge for them. It's been 4 years, slightly in the wilderness, shall we say, for Hartlepool. They've had a tough time, and for them financially as a club, especially after the pandemic, it's really big news. It's like anyone. And promotion is huge.
The fans were clearly having a good time.
Yeah.
It's a bit like the Scottish fans in London over the weekend. Watching those videos on social media, they were clearly having a very, very good time.
You would have thought they'd won the Euros, but they, even a goalless draw, they got that point, which obviously presented a lifeline. They're playing Croatia tomorrow.
Can I just say, this is one of the reasons that, I'm not going to be controversial about that kind of football can be boring. That was a boring game. The Scotland League game.
It wasn't boring. I mean, there weren't any huge chances. I mean, it lacked a bit of a spark. But to be honest with you, from an England point of view, they would have been disappointed. But the Scots did very well. It was, and Steve Clarke is doing a fantastic job there. So I'm really pleased for them, because they were the underdogs. They were at Wembley, remember, as well.
So
of course,
I think away game essentially.
It's difficult. So I think a goalless draw for Scotland, they'll take it, and they did very well.
That's why I love a penalty shootout.
You like the excitement, excitement factor for you.
OK, going to pause there. It is Armed Forces Week. We're going to speak indeed to a former Armed Forces Minister in just a couple of minutes. Stay tuned for that.